what you're going to see today is our best thinking, working with all the constituent groups in this project, and there are many. This building has so many users, and I'm so glad that we have people here and on the committee that we're working with, because there are a lot of interest in bringing them all together is our goal on this. So we have brought everybody together as stakeholders. We want to roll this out today to the public. We're filming it for use across campus. And we think it's very exciting what's going to happen. We think it's a great addition to the campus. It is certainly part of a continuum of improving the athletics and fitness spaces on the campus. The first, I think you'll recall, that's a very serious heartbeat. The first call was the addition of the IM field that was turfed. That was a game changer, I think, and Josh might speak to that a bit, but for athletics and fitness and recreation for the campus. So this is part 2 that we're trying to achieve. Part 3 is to go and redo the ski-low gymnasium once we've created the capacity that this addition will bring. So we have a whole bunch of speakers, we've got a lot of information. I do want to tell you it is an iterative process. Be sure that what you see today is shaping up to be what we want to do. It is not the final product. We want to hear from everybody. Okay? And there will be opportunities to do that. Gina's going to share that with you. So, any questions at the outset? Introductions? Okay. So, I'll introduce my staff first. Adam Mumbers, our project manager. Bob Recke, our Director of Design, and Riley, our Director of Construction. JR Scides, that's our construction manager on the project. I'm not sure who all stands over here, so. Are you? No, can't. Our architectural firm on the project. Valerie is the CAM design.
Design student activities with student pairs.
Josh Sentor, Interim Director of Athletics.
Yeah, Phil Dort, I with Mechanical Design.
John Reed, Cam Design. And last but not least,
Holly McKenna with Cam Design.
good timing.
There's everybody. Again, Canon is our design firm. We did a very rigorous process to select this firm. They came through, they're very impressive in the interview process and have been very impressive to work with today. So we're on the right path. Mercedes has done work on campus. JR has been in the process with us from day one. It's a very important step for us to have 2 pieces, the construction piece and the design piece, all interwoven from the beginning. Stakeholders, my staff. The overview, I think I've told you about this, but
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. As Ralph mentioned, my name is Josh Sentor, and I'm proud to be the Interim Director of Athletics here at Carnegie Mellon, and couldn't be more excited to have the opportunity to talk about and discuss the plans and designs for the addition to the University Center. And one of the things that I think is really thrilling and exciting about this is that we got to this point in this conversation as part of the university's overall commitment to student experience and opportunity for students and staff and faculty, specifically as it relates to life on campus. As Ralph mentioned, this is part of a 3-phase process with regard to athletics facilities on campus. So I just want to go into that a little bit more in depth. As you may be aware, phase 1 was the construction of the intramural soccer field that rests at the intersection of Forbes Avenue and Margaret Morrison. And that happened in the summer of 2010. And truly transformed what we were able to do in terms of club sports, intramural activity, physical education, intercollegiate athletics, and of course, recreational opportunities on campus. Really created a second legitimate field for us, but more than doubled what we're able to do in terms of capacity. I don't know how the math works on that, but I'm sure that it's more than doubled our capacity. So that is tremendous. Phase 2 is what we'll discuss today, and the addition to the University Center and the spaces that directly result in physical education, fitness, recreation, and of course student life. And so you'll see that through the design today. And there's a component of the project that also relates to the construction and redesign of our locker rooms, the addition of a cool balcony that'll enhance what we can do with intercollegiate swimming in that facility. And of course, phase 3 is a reconstruction to the existing ski-boat gymnasium site. And we won't talk about that further today, but that is the third part of this 3-phase plan. And the last thing that I wanted to mention that I think anybody that's seen the soccer field can agree is that what it's done for the edge of the Carnegie Mellon campus in terms of a beautiful aesthetic as you drive into Oakland up Forbes Avenue and you see the Scotty dog on the scoreboard and you see this beautiful field. It's had a tremendous impact on the overall look and feel of our campus. And I think what we'll see today, what I know what we'll see today, is the impact that phase 2 also has on our ability to have our front door to Forbes Avenue, and I know that we're going to speak more about that. So right now it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce Gina Castellino, our Dean of Student Affairs.
Thank you so much, Josh. So I'm going to speak just for a very brief moment because what we're all very excited to do in our time here today, as Ralph has intimated, is spend time with the design team and with the construction team who are here to talk about how will all of this come to life? What will this look like in the lived experience of our students and community members? So most of our time will be spent with the designers and the construction colleagues that we've gotten to know closely over the last number of months in the iterative process of this design. I want to highlight, or I guess probably connect to some really important campus conversations over the last 6 months, the relevance and the importance of this project. We have long envisioned this phase 2 portion of our overall commitment to increasing the footprint to the student experience in the fitness realm, but we also have had a commitment to the overall wellness, whether you think of that as spiritual wellness or social wellness, physical wellness, or emotional wellness. And this footprint expansion, which is roughly about a 25% gain to the current experience, the current footprint here in the University Center, will transform the student experience and our community members' experiences here at the University Center. And as we think about those conversations we've had about campus culture and enhancing our campus culture, this project, I think, will be such an important step in delivering spaces to students to allow for greater engagement with their well-being and with one another. And something Josh left for me to be able to talk for a brief moment about, that my colleague Liz Vaughn will talk about in a bit with our designers, is the studio theater. So this is the last time you'll hear Black Box Theater. When we first talked about this project in the last year, as we thought about envisioning it coming to life, we talked about Black Box Theater that you'll learn much more about here. But that studio theater is what we're calling it now. It's a very multifunctional space. Will be a space that, in addition to the fitness needs that we will address and the wellness needs of our campus community, the community engagement opportunities for our organizations will be met so much more robustly with the addition of the studio theater. And we're so pleased to be able to bring that to the campus and very excited to hear from all of you as you hear from our designers about what we are imagining the space to look like, how will it flow with the existing architecture and the lived experience of this building. And in addition to today's presentation, which will be very presentation focused, we're going to throw a lot at you. We're really pleased all of you are here. There will be 2 follow-up opportunities for you and others who we weren't able to make this presentation to sit in a meeting in a room, not a meeting actually, in a room, workshopping ideas related to the concepts that you will see today. And we will continue to present those over 2 sessions, one tomorrow from 4 to 6 p.m. in the right room, and one on Friday from noon to 2, also in the right room, where you'll get to sit down with our architects and with the program sponsors, Josh, Liz, myself, and others from CDFD, so that you can give us your ideas, tell us what you think about what's been proposed. As Ralph said, this is an iterative process, and we're so thrilled to be launching here today, and pleased all of you are here. So Ralph, I'm turning it back over to you to work us through our agenda, and hopefully soon to get our designers right up to the stage.
Again, any questions at this point in time? Any? Okay. John, are you doing this?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Hi, I'm John Reed. I'm the design principal for Campbell Design. And so what we thought we would do is sort of show you the ideas that have generated this project. It's not so much, X number of square feet of fitness, X number of square feet of lockers, studio space. It's really making a building that fits the campus, that fits this place, that fits into this building block. So one of the things that's going to happen here, and I don't have a pointer, so I'm going to jump around a bit, is that the center of your campus right now is really right where that first circle is on the bottom. When the campus begins to expand in the future across Forbes Avenue, that center is going to shift. And we think that center is going to make the Forbes Avenue almost like another quad space, another sort of campus space. And so we want the addition that we're putting on this building to reflect that and to relate to that, to help this new front door to your campus. So there's a number of things that we've been thinking about, and there's a number of ideas up there on the top about traffic calming and ways of landscaping that street so it feels like a precinct, so that when you come into that space, you know you're on Carnegie Mellon's campus. It's no longer Forbes Avenue, it's a road passing through the middle of the campus. And we're going to look a little bit more closely at the next drawing about this area here on Forbes. As you're coming up Forbes, you see the end of the parking garage. You see into the cut, and you'll eventually see into this new expansion on the opposite side of Forbes. So those two red lines define, and it's interesting to me that they define space, and that equal to the width of your cut now. And the idea that something that could happen at this end down here, and something that could happen here on the new front door of the University Center could have a dialogue. And that space in between them should possibly be treated in a similar fashion. The landscaping, the hardscape, the trash cans, all of that stuff becomes one piece and contributes to the character of the place. So we're going to go through some diagrams here, and it's they're a little bit schematic. This is the thought process of how this building came out. So the light gray is the footprint of the existing University Center. And the master plan is the 2012 institutional master plan, proposed an addition that was really sort of a pancake up against that edge. This is Forbes Avenue going up and down, and this is the cut going horizontally across the bottom of the page. So what we've done, and we'll explain a little bit more as we go through the plans about why we've done this, is we've pushed it out to Forbes Avenue to make a building that addresses the street, to make a building that is more of an urban building on a street like this. We've created a space next to the existing gym to have a service yard, to have a screen service yard for Forbes Avenue. So when this building was designed, there was a lot of thought going into it. And you can tell just from the rendering here how much effort went into designing this. It's a beautiful building. One of the ideas was that there was a continuous wrapper of skin. It's all yellow, the horn box is yellow, and there's all kinds of different programming that happen behind it. But it's important that it's continuous skin and it defines space. It defines the cut, it defines the courtyard on the south side. The gym is located right opposite the long dimension of the football field. So there's a lot of relationships that this building fits into on campus. Within that skin, that continuous wrapper, are a number of very big volumes. The pool, gym, theater, commons. And in our new edition, we're going to continue that pattern of these major volumes within the skin. The studio theater is in line with the commons economy along the center of the building. The fitness is the part that's moving up onto Forbes Avenue. Inside the building, there are major and minor circulation patterns. There are two public circulation corridors, which is the lighter yellow, and then there's a service corridor that is moving between the company. It's actually right here, right? It's right here behind this wall. We can go and see it. And it's a very interesting relationship about how a complicated program in this building gets served without you guys seeing it. It's like a hotel, right? There's all this stuff going on behind the wall here where people are setting up this room that we heard just a minute ago, and you don't see it. And that's what's fascinating about this building, how these circulation systems are public and private things. Outside the building, there are campus paths that engage with it. For instance, along the cut, where you come inside the building in this beautiful loggia, or the diagonal relationship coming from the dormitories across that finds its way really to the front door of the building. There are these little clues that move around the building that allow you to know where to enter. And our building needs to engage those circulation paths. The one that's coming from the top down to fitness, that's coming along the face of the football field and coming from the parking garage. And you'll see that how it's addressed in our plans in the building. Then there is traffic, and as it is now, there's a number of different systems of traffic that are all coming together here in front of the site. So we need to make sure that people can go in and out to the parking garage. We need to be able to make sure that people coming from the parking garage find the front door of the building, and that the service comes in to the middle of the building in a way that's graceful. It's a way that's hidden from everybody else, you know, the clanking of the trash cans and things like that. So the way the building works is that there was and sort of the brilliance of this building is there's all kinds of different programs mixed up together. There's athletics, there's social spaces, there's meeting spaces, performance spaces, dining spaces. I mean, on a lot of campuses, you would find those individual programs in different buildings, but here it's all mixed together, and that's what's great about this building. So we're going to continue that idea with the addition. So the part of the project that we're engaged in is where it says proposed addition, and that little red line that wraps around is the area that we are impacting. We want our building to have a bigger impact on the things around it, and we're very cognizant of how it relates to those things. But the only things that we're physically touching is within that boundary. Let's go to the next one. So the lower level of the building, it plugs into the existing corridor system of the building. So there's a continuous circulation piece that goes around it. Now, the colored drawings you see here are program drawings. We color them to make distinctions of program. It doesn't mean that space is yellow. It doesn't mean, you'll see some places where pieces of color come together, and if there's no gray line like this in between it, it means that it's just a piece of program next to another piece of program. If you see a thicker gray line, that's a wall. So downstairs here we have shelf space that's going to be determined in the future. There's a number of different things that are in play. The administration is working with different groups here on campus to figure that out. But just like the original building, they built the basement and then they figured things out later on. So it's great to have that. It's a very mature way of thinking about it, so that you build it ahead of time.
So, good afternoon, Phil Dorbat. John and I are partners and we've been working on the project together. One of the parts I've been working on is the program of the facility in terms of what goes into it. And so we've had a lot of discussion about the program that goes into the facility. There's been a lot of dialogue back and forth. As part of that dialogue, I think what we've been trying to do and keep in mind is to really give Carnegie Mellon the best value for the amount of budget and square footage we have for this project. So to really serve the campus community as best we can in terms of the program. So we're going to go through and talk about the detailed program that's in the space. There are a couple of spaces that you may have heard about discussed related to this project earlier on. They're not part of the project right now, and they are the track and the gym and climbing wall. And those are decisions we've made as we work through this program process. Now, there are a lot of exciting dynamic fitness spaces that are planned into the process, and Josh is going to talk about those a bit right now.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. So, just briefly before we see the actual design, I am excited to talk about some of these program spaces on the first floor of the building. So, the first couple of bullets that you'll see there, heavy and light free weights and strength training. Right now, as it currently stands upstairs, our weight area is at the very back of what we call the Cybex room. So we have circuit machines in there and light weights. But if you want to do some serious strength training, you really can't do it in this building. And you go across campus to Skibo Gym, where we have our heavy weights in the free weight room on the first level of Skibo Gym. What we're going to have here on this first floor is a place where you can do all of that in one place. We're going to have selectorized equipment, have free weights, and then if you're going to get a really significant weightlifting experience, we're going to have those types of heavy weights for strength training to all in their appropriate place. So when you see the design, those are the types of things that can happen on the first floor of the addition. Also on the first floor of the addition will be new locker rooms. So I mentioned earlier that we're going to renovate the locker rooms at the pool area, and that is part of this, but there will also be the addition of new locker rooms that will occur within the addition. And you'll see in the designs that it's going to be an open plan that's going to rely on technology for access to the space, but one of the areas that will be significantly monitored and secure will be the locker rooms with the inclusion of a service desk and an individual by the locker rooms, as well as the combination of technology. We can talk more about that. That will be part of the design as well. And another part that you'll see would be the inclusion of a meeting room, a conference type space, which will allow us to expand physical education and proactive learning opportunities for a wide variety of things that we can do on campus that we currently don't really have a dedicated space for. So that's also on the first floor programmatic design.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Liz Vaughn, and I'm the director of the Student Activities Office, and I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you today about the Studio Theater. As Gina referenced, there has been a long-standing desire and need, significant need, to be able to address the tremendous growth that we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years around the performance organizations on our campus, and not having appropriate space for organizations to attend to their goals and level of activity that they're wanting to have happen on campus. And the Studio Theater is really going to help us address a number of those. So as Marcia Gerwig, the director of the University Center, can attest, we are bursting at the seams in terms of rehearsal space on campus, and our colleagues in athletics have tried to help address this as well. In particular related to dance organizations. So when we think about the number of organizations that we have, like Dancer Symposium, our bong routines, all of these organizations are needing significant numbers of time blocks to be able to rehearse for their shows. And we don't have a lot of space that is appropriate for that kind of work. So you can't really be dancing on carpet or concrete floors, which many of our student organizations are having to do currently. So this space is going to address those rehearsal needs. It will also address specific needs related to small music performances and concerts. So instead of having a concert happen in an academic space, it can be in a more appropriate venue. So we're really excited to be able to address that, as well as providing appropriate space for organizations like All University Orchestra and Community Band and bagpipers that are having to rehearse in spaces that don't have the appropriate acoustics and soundproofing. Anyone who is here in the University Center late in the afternoon, several days a week, know that the sound bleeds out of the common room, and now we'll be able to put that into a space that is appropriate for the organization and also doesn't negatively impact other functions that are happening in the University Center. And of course, this is a studio theater, so we're also helping to address the theater needs of some of our organizations, such as Scotch and Soda. Currently, many of their performances are happening in classrooms, or in Peter Wright McKenna, they're trying to build sets and stages and spaces that were really not intended for that. So these are the kinds of needs that the studio theater is going to be able to address, which is tremendously exciting. One thing that I'll note is that this space has really been designed to meet the needs of student organizations that we have heard about year after year. So it's really designed with those needs in mind, and we're excited to be able to address them with a number of different features in this space. So I started talking about the significant number of dance rehearsals that will likely happen here. It is going to be a dance quality floor, so it will be a sprung floor that will be good on the knees and joints of our dancers. We have also designed the room with significant consciousness around the ease of use in the space. So anyone who's tried to use one of the Crestron panels in this building and adjust the lights and things like that, the goal is that someone can walk into this space, have never used it before, and to adjust the lighting that will be appropriate for rehearsals happening in that space, and will be able to also turn on a house system for music and sound. So you'll be able to plug your iPod into the wall, bring your music up, and it doesn't require someone from the University Center staff or someone from AV Tech to help you figure that out. So we're really excited about that. The other thing I would mention is that we are also going to have some telescoping seating. So again, this idea that this is a highly multifunctional and multi-purpose space, we want the student organizations and the user of this space to be able to define what their events and activities look like in the space. So if they want a theater and around experience, then we can bring in some chairs in whatever configuration makes sense. But if an organization is wanting to do an event that is more traditionally theater setup, then we will have telescoping seating that we can pull out from one end of the room to be able to accommodate more traditional theater-like seating. So I hope that this is really going to address needs of our organizations, and I think it's going to be a tremendous value add both to the student experience and for the rest of us campus community members that like to attend those events. I think it will dramatically increase the quality of these events and really speak to the level of work that our students are doing to be able to highlight that more effectively. So John, I think it's back to you.
Okay, so here we are at level 1, the ground floor. And if you can follow my cursor, I'm going to sort of give you a little tour through the building. So the front door right here lines up on this corridor that goes all the way through to the University Center. This is the main public corridor of the university. When you come in, you'll find the lobby space, you'll find the entrance to the studio theater. This is the collapsible seating, because it's just speaking of it. It sort of moves out into space, or it can be pushed back to the side. The public is really out here in the lobby and then moving this way down the corridor. There are 2 restrooms for the breakout of the theater. The people that are going to the gym would enter here and move into the lower level of the fitness space. The desk is right here controlling access to the 2 locker rooms. There's a women's locker, men's locker, 2 staff lockers. And then there's this sort of yellow corridor zone here that's really the extension of that service corridor. When things are being staged in here, these doors are always closed. The people that are performing can go back and forth and move around in this zone and not be seen by the public. They can use these 2 staff locker areas as changing areas for performers. The people that are here in the gym can use sort of the gym equipment, and it's closed off acoustically with a set of doors. I'm going to have Eileen come up, I guess, and talk a little bit about the different things that are happening in that time for the gym space.
Just when we start to think about how we go about zoning a fitness center, one of the things that we want to try to avoid often is having someone feel intimidated by walking in the space. So we think about how we lay out the equipment, where we put that equipment. Some users want to be seen and want to be lifting their muscles right at the front doors. Others would like a little bit more privacy and perhaps a view. So one of the things that we try to do is think about zoning. We haven't got to the point of the exact equipment layout, but another thing to keep in mind is that those that are lifting heavy weights, we want to do that on the first floor because the pounding of those weights between the floors. John talked about that sound isolation. I want to be very sensitive to that. When we get to the second floor, you'll see that the majority of the cardio equipment is up on the second
We
level.
have no basement under that area.
Another thing to point out, the location of that control desk right now also provides for a lot of visibility. There is opportunities where there are individuals that are trying new piece of equipment, might need a little bit of help. Having that staff visible, having those offices in space, they can go out very easily, have access to somebody on the floor. And then a little bit of a private area, like I said, back at the top right hand corner. And the locker rooms are orchestrated in a very organized fashion. The privacy issues, we've worked very hard with the university on trying to address those with private showers and whatnot to try to bring some of those newer spaces, I think, up to better standards.
There's a couple other things that I think that are important to point out here. The people that are arriving, unfortunately, just a little bit off the drawing, the parking garage will come across under a loggia into a courtyard. We're going to see a landscape plan at the end of the presentation to describe the character of the space in more detail. But you're approaching the entrance of the building using a loggia that's a little bit similar to some of the loggias in other parts of the building, but there's an outdoor plaza that brings you in. The second thing I wanted to say is that there's an enclosed service yard here that has access into the guts of the building, and all of that is really hidden from any of these spaces. You don't look like that space. Okay?
So a couple of other things to discuss now that we're moving on up to the second floor in terms of the program. Right now, as you might know, we are going to work out on cardio equipment in the University Center. We've got about 25 cardio pieces in a converted racquetball court on the second floor, all put in there together. What we're going to have, when you see on the design, is a lot more square footage dedicated to cardio equipment in a significantly more appropriate space to do what you would like with regard to aerobic exercise. Also, we now have outstanding programming that occurs in our One Exercise studio. In fact, and I'm really happy that Sarah Bonner and Patty Stragar are here. So we have had 900 group exercise participants in the past 2 weeks. The fact that we're going to add large and medium exercise studios where you can dream of beginning yoga and intermediate yoga at the same time, or classes offered at half-hour intervals, with a cycling studio that's dedicated as well, so that you don't have to have the time to move the spin bikes on and off the floor to the one studio. You can have 3 classes, and we will have 3 classes going all at once. And for us, this is incredibly exciting because what we're seeing from the campus community is extreme demand that folks want to be working out, want to take these classes. Our physical education classes are bursting at the seams. Our students want to be enrolled in what is, as you may know, a non-required physical education curriculum. And our classes are full. And now we'll have 3 spaces during the day where we can teach these classes and expand the opportunities for education in this realm, which we're really obviously passionate about and excited that we'll be able to provide those opportunities. So look forward to you seeing that design as well.
Now we're on level 2. So in the middle of this lobby space is a large hole. You can come up a flight of stairs, you end up on this mezzanine looking down into space. And I should have said this earlier, that this area outside the studio theater has a large window on it. So that when things are happening in the studio theater, if there's a practice or there's something that's not so hush-hush, there are curtains that can be drawn aside. And you can come into that lobby and see what's happening. And I like that idea of putting different things like that on display up here in your student union. Within the fitness space, Colleen is going to come and explain these things a little bit more, but the things that are happening up here are mostly sort of corridor space connecting you into this large exercise room, divided medium, cycling studio, aerobics on the 2nd floor, some offices, and then a connection back into the rest of the university center.
So the fitness center on the 2nd level is predominantly the cardio equipment. So that's elliptical, treadmills, anything with a power cord for the most part is up on the 2nd level. And you'll see that there's a couple white areas in the middle, and those are openings for transparency to the floor below. What we're trying to do is make sure that no matter where you are in the fitness center, you can see down, oh, the strength machine that I want to work on is free, so I'll go downstairs and I'll do my strength. Or vice versa. But really having that dynamic energy between all the spaces, that's what we're trying to do. We don't want the fitness center to feel as though you go from one box with cardio to another box with strength training. We want to feel as though it's one unified space. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see the functional training, and then 2 fitness assessment rooms. Once again, for those individuals that are going to try to perhaps initiate a program and need a little bit of extra assistance, a little bit of privacy, we feel those will be incredibly valuable. Moving to the right, there are 2 multi-purpose rooms. The large multi-purpose room is very big. At just over 2,000 square feet, you're going to have a tremendous amount of use in that. We have storage rooms associated with each one of those spaces. Once again, we could probably never build enough storage, but we do have very good storage for all that equipment to help the university not have to get into a position of moving equipment up and down and across the room. Having that relationship is critical to the effectiveness of the programs. The last thing is the cycling studio. In between the 2 white shaded areas, you'll see one thing that's really unique about the shape of that is the ability to perhaps set up the studio in a way that cycling has a lot of energy to it. If you've ever gone to any of the classes here, whether it's stepped or not, there's something nice about the tightness of it. And so you might look at it and say, oh, is that too small? But there's really a benefit to the energy that's going to come out of that space. So we're capitalizing on the shape of it. And we think it's appropriate to have that cycling studio in that space.
Level 3 has more shelf space. It's connected back to the public corridor, the front of the building here in the cut. Has an X-wing stair, and it's space yet to be determined. So there's a sizable amount of space in this building that's impervious. We're also renovating the lockers by the pool, and this is a drawing is a little confusing, but what it is it's showing the pool area here, the corridor that takes you into the lockers, the men's lockers and the women's lockers. So this is what you currently have, and then we wanted to show you what we're going to change it into. So what we're doing is we're cleaning up this corridor. We're adding 2 family changing areas on that corridor. We're adding more lockers within the locker rooms themselves. We're expanding the team rooms, and we're adding storage and more spaces that are necessary to the operation of the pool. So it's a cleanup and an expansion of those spaces. Then up on the second floor, now this drawing's flipped from the last, and I apologize for that. Because here's the pool in this drawing. There is a balcony that will look out onto the pool for spectators when events are occurring. And there will be new spaces that can be imagined in these previous, this was your dance studio, this was the squash court, and this is where the fitness space is now. So what we thought we'd do now is show you some images of the building. Just bear in mind that these are very preliminary, they're very simple ideas. This is a computer model, but it's really meant to say that after this presentation, we'd like you to all come up and look at the model, because the model is a great tool to envision what this looks like. And when you come up and look at it, I'd like you to try to put your eye down at the level of the street, because this is not a true representation of what this building is going to look like. When you're down here and you're looking at it, you can begin to understand the scale of the building, you can begin to understand what it's going to be like to approach it. And so what we're trying to do is to say that the front door to your new building is here. It's right here. And I think you'll get that from looking at the model. That's that kind of overview I was just talking about. You'll notice in the model there are little fins, for instance, in the area of the fitness space. And that's so as you're approaching the building, you don't see lots and lots of people up there sitting on your bike. When you're in the space, you can look straight out. But there are things we've done to make certain parts of the building more transparent. For instance, this space off of the courtyard has a north-facing glass wall. So you'll be able to see what's happening inside the building. The building we have now is very opaque from the outside. So we're trying to have this visual transparency out onto Fourth Avenue. This is a perspective sort of standing on the corner of the gym, looking into that new service yard. You can see the 2 studio spaces. And this is an east-facing wall, so it's going to get spectacular when we're inside. This is the space, the assessment space up on the second floor, and you're sort of looking over the top of the building in a very large truck parked around here. And then this is a preliminary ground level view. We put this in to give you an idea of scale. You can see how big people are. You can see that this building is not a huge addition onto it, but we think it respects the scale and the character of what's already there. Now you come inside the lobby. We're standing on the second floor. We're looking back towards 4th Avenue. We're looking down into that 2-story space. The fitness space is over here. This is one of those windows that's looking into the studio theater, an elevator, and a stair. And then a way of capturing daylight, south daylight, and bringing it down into that lobby space. So it's going to be we want it to be a lively space all throughout the day. This is looking in the fitness space. This is that mezzanine level that we were speaking about, with the fitness equipment looking down into the area where the weightlifting is happening in all of the different machines. We haven't drawn all the machines yet. But just like the lobby, there are a number of apertures to bring daylight down in. There are windows to look out. And we think it's going to be a really, really exciting space for you. And then our landscape architect is here. We're privileged to have a really terrific landscape architect, and they put together some slides to show you the character of what some of these spaces might be like. So if you can, sort of hold these in the back of your mind. A water garden, a set of steps with benches that are integrated into steps. Maybe a small misting fountain. A wall that could enclose the service yard and is made out of rocks and is covered with greenery. The rocks will absorb the sound. It'll be something that will grow over time. And then this is really great to me. This shows a sort of integration of landscape and architecture together. It's not just sort of a front lawn building. The two things come together. We're very interested in that. So now this drawing has been turned slightly sideways. This is 4th Avenue. Here's the end of the garage. This is that path I was talking about. The paved surface leads out of the garage, under the loggia, past the water garden. This is a gabion wall that's protecting that service yard. The addition is in gray. We have a new drop-off at this end. We want to make sure that there's a way to drop off the front door of the building. There's this secondary sort of courtyard. There's the new entrance, a covered entrance area, and then an outdoor cafe. So that while it may look like one big space, the idea is to break it down into smaller and smaller scale spaces. So there's an intimacy about, maybe sitting here in this rock garden that's away from the noise of Forbes Avenue. It's a different character from the paved surface of the front door of the building. So this is the beginnings of that sort of discussion. And then JR is going to talk a little bit about where we are in the process.
Hi, I'm J.R. Bitter. Thanks for taking the time to come to the meeting with us tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about the overall project schedule and the impacts of the project to the campus as we move forward through the project. Currently, we're completing schematic design, which is what we're showing you today here on the screen. That is, where we're at in the stage. We are scheduled to complete design of the building in this winter of 2014 and to start construction this spring of 2014. There's a lot of things that have to happen for us to get there. We have to get through schematic design. There's several other stages of the design process, and we're moving rapidly to those completions. And then the overall completion date of the project is currently scheduled for fall of 2015. The impacts to the campus. There are several impacts, and we know as a construction manager that we have to deal with, minimal disruptions to your campus, minimal disruptions to your operations. So we have to recognize these impacts and count what we have to do to mitigate the impact to your everyday operation of the building and the campus as a whole. We are going to impact the parking entrance. As you saw in the design, we're changing the way you enter into the parking. The drop-off loop as it sits now is going to be changed and designed to a drop-off lane, and we know that we can't just take the drop-off loop and delete it and move forward and then 18 months later give you back the drop-off lane. We will be impacting the pool. I'm sorry, I skipped over the loading dock and access to the university, and that's a big impact to what has to happen. There's so many things that move in and out of this building on a daily basis, and we recognize that, and we have to, we're building over top of the existing loading dock, which is one wonderful addition. So we recognize that we have to do something to mitigate that impact. We will be working in the pool and locker room and working in the pool itself to do the balcony, and that's going to impact the usage of the pool while we're doing that construction. The service corridor and gymnasium access is an impact, which I'll show you on the sketch here. And then you're also going to be impacting this construction project is currently scheduled to span over commencement of 2014 and commencement of 2015, and we need to recognize what that does to the folks that are around commencement. So this work here we call enabling work. This work is the work that we use to initially to mitigate some of the impacts to the campus, to basically shift the way the campus operates now to allow things to continue to operate while we build in the area. So sort of understanding that our project sits in this area here is where we're building it in. So the first thing we have to do is we have to reconfigure this garage so that we can get people in and out of the garage, because currently everyone's going to be driving down. As we do the construction, we drive in through here. We're going to provide a temporary drop-off loop, a temporary loading dock, and temporary access from the loading dock back to the service of the existing building. These things are in the pre-schematic. I'd say they're the programmatic stage of what we got to do. This is just an idea. We are open to suggestions, and we want to hear people's suggestions on how we can minimize impact to operations of the building. And then when we go into the construction itself, our attempt is, this enabling work area here in the red zone is turned back over to you, the people that use every day these facilities and these things, so that in the green area becomes our construction site. So that we move things over into this area so that we can open this area up for construction. We intend on having construction access through here, and we also intend on trying to keep an access loop completely around the building, around the construction site for pedestrian traffic. Access to the building. So
back to the room. Nice work, everybody. Fantastic. I think you can see why everyone's excited. I think you can see a lot of good things there. I'll be happy to take questions.
I have two questions. I'm not sure there's a solution yet for the first one, but I guess suppose a person likes to do a couple of different things. They like to swim Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they like to use the treadmill Tuesday, Thursday. Well, unless they want to rent, I guess, 2 lockers, wouldn't they be sort of running back and forth between, I mean, nobody's going to want to walk through the university center with a bathing suit on and that sort of thing. And all I can see is renting 2 lockers to address that. But and my second question is, is there any plan to do like a LEED certification for the addition?
LEED certification? Yeah, it will be a silver LEED certification. We should have mentioned that, sorry. It's a university policy for a major addition like this to have at least LEED silver. We'd like to achieve gold, but we must achieve silver. On the first question, I think Josh might be better at taking that.
Yeah, thank you for that question, and it's obviously something we're going to continue to discuss, but what I would say with regard to the lockers right now, we talked about the fact that there will be more lockers in the pool area, but the concept for the new locker rooms is to have a daily use solution, so that you wouldn't rent 2 lockers if you wanted. If you did rent one now and you kept that one, you'd have an opportunity to use the daily use, come lock, and then leave in that area. Obviously, the areas are in 2 different sections of the building, so we are talking about how you can connect them most efficiently, but there is definitely, a point that you have to go from one area where the pool currently is to the new area, but the 2 locker rooms are there to kind of mitigate some of that issue, so that you can use the locker and the other daily use. So that's the plan as it currently stands.
Sir, excuse me, when you stand up with your question, identify yourself so we know who you are, please.
My name is Andrew. I'm an undergraduate. I have a few disconnected questions. The first is on the second floor of the fitness space. Is there an area of construction? That's one of the issues that we have here. PE construction across like the airport.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't see it. I assume it was okay. The second question I had, that theater, so the seats, they come in and out of that? Okay, so can you split the space so you can use, the stage in one area and that additional space for a different parcel?
No, so it won't be a single space. Based on the research that we've done, and we think we could fill probably every hour in the theater, but given the types of activities that we've seen, students and organizations needing within the building, we think actually it's an appropriate size space, and we wouldn't likely want to split it. And also for acoustic reasons and whatnot, is intended to stay as a single space.
The floor that the chairs move on, is that similar to the stage? Is it a level? Is it?
So yes, that's a great clarifying point, Andrew. So there is going to be a stage actually built into the space. So given the multi-function and multi-purpose design of the space, there will be no actual stage. The vast majority of the time that the space will be used, it will actually be for rehearsal. So if an organization needs a stage, say for a Scotch and soda performance or whatnot, there will be an opportunity for those organizations to be able to rent the stage, which we can obviously help with student activities to make that happen. But we think actually with our research, that will be a fairly minimal need actually, given that it would primarily be used on a day-to-day basis for rehearsal. And those key performances, like if Scotch and Soda is doing a show, they're actually wanting to build those things on their own as well. This actually gives me an opportunity to mention something that I neglected to say when I was speaking about the studio theater, which is that I'm very excited to be able to say that we have built into the program a wire tension grid that will allow AV Tech and Scotch and Soda to much more effectively, and I know you seem quite excited about that, Andrew, to much more effectively rig their sound and lighting equipment in space much more safely than they currently do it in other spaces. So it will be much more effective from a sound and lighting support aspect as well, which is tremendously exciting for all of the organizations that rely on AV Tech and Scotch and Soda for their support. So.
And it will also have a dedicated sound booth at the second level. Yeah.
In the interest of continuity, can you state your name and where you're
My name's Ellen. I'm on staff council.
Thank you, Alan.
Sorry, I have one more.
Last one.
What's the progress on politics of calming down Forbes Avenue? How's that been going?
I think that when you saw that park between the spaces, that question is embedded in that. So I think that it's not so much the politics as what's the solution. I think the politics will be solved if we can get the right solution. So we don't have a solution. What you see is a scheme here. It just says between what the new Tepper building will be, hopefully the Tepper building and this building, there's a great space. It's almost like a bow tie. What one does to that, I think it was John who said consistency of materials and things like that. And then maybe it's something else. Maybe it's widening the road. Maybe it's additional traffic light is in there. So we don't have a solution yet. But I think that as an optimist, I would say once the solution is defined, I think the politics will follow. Yes.
Linda Gentili, staff member, 2 questions. One is, can you clarify the timeline because it said design phase, winter 2014, construction beginning, spring 2014, so that was a little unclear.
So we see winter, January, February,
Okay.
March.
Gotcha.
And then we're very liberal with our spring and fall.
Okay.
So spring is April, May, June, so that time frame.
Okay, thank you. And the second one is the aspect of the windows and the fitness area reminds me a little bit of UPMC's physical therapy center on the south side. Great window space, but the sun can be somewhat intense in there and not always pleasant because it can be a little too much. So I'm curious how that aspect of, sun can sometimes not be a great thing as much as we, want it coming in. And I was curious how that was going to be handled.
I think that's a great question.
I can answer that.
John?
Well, first of all, the portion of the building that's facing Forbes Avenue is facing north. That's easy. We got that solved. We don't have to worry about the solar heat gain or the glare or any of those sort of issues. The places where we're going to have to work a little bit hard is the east-facing dance studios to make sure that we have the appropriate materials that we can shut the space down. So, we're aware of it. We know how to fix that, but we don't have a lot of south-facing. West and south are the 2 bad ones. We don't have too much of that. In fact, we're trying to bring a little bit of the south light in through monitors on the roof to get it down into the spaces. Other places in the building where we have south-facing, that's a good point. We're really bouncing the light down, and it's not directly in your face. So we're not quite there yet, but we know what to do to fix that.
A great point. Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Eric Stunt. I'm an undergraduate here. Forgive me, but I heard you say something about a climbing wall. I did not hear what you said was being done about that, or whether it was scrapped or not.
In the scheme of things, the climbing wall and the walking track around the gymnasium, they've fallen out of the program. We're not going to be doing those. That's the point.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Helen. I'm an undergraduate student. I'm wondering about the dance space on the 2nd floor. You mentioned there's going to be a large and medium floor. Are those for the cycling as well? Right now, we have the cyclists sharing the space with the MPU. Does that mean that the cyclists will be moved out of the multi-purpose room? And that space will be available for dancers and fitness classes to be used, as well as squash courts being converted into a smaller stadium. Is that correct?
Is this the right room or is it the other one?
Go back to that. Great. That's a great question. So when we talk about the 2 studios, that would be in the new addition. So the large exercise studio and the medium exercise studio, and then the dedicated cycling studio. So the bikes, as you know them right now, in this space, which is the athletics to the left of that, right there is the current studio, would be out in the new dedicated cycling studio, which leaves us great space. Currently used for all of those things. The plan is to really make that a great dedicated dance space with this wonderful floor and its great open field. And so some of the conversation that we're having now is how you can kind of capture that racquetball court that currently serves that as the cardio area and holds those 25 pieces of equipment, and how that can kind of flow into with some construction to make it an even better and larger and more open dance studio space.
So, but basically, we're taking things from here, moving them out into the new space, and then this gets repurposed. So it's again part of the expansion of the overall facility. Yes? Questions? Yes, please.
Is there, oh, my name's Hira, I'm an undergraduate student. Is there going to be any sign that says Carnegie Mellon University? Because the other place where it says Carnegie Mellon outside of Warner is like covered by a tree. So, like, is that a part of the plan also?
We haven't talked about signage. To a degree, we hope the building speaks for itself. But that's something that we will need to do and do well. Yes, thank you. Yes?
I'm just wondering, would it be a nice place to put a digital billboard sort of thing?
I think Gina can take that.
Ellen, I'm excited you asked that. We spent a lot of time with this concept of the front door to the University Center. And when we talk about the front door to the university, via the University Center, that's really about sort of that facing Forbes Avenue and the welcome to Carnegie Mellon, as Josh so eloquently spoke about. But we also recognize for the first-time visitor to Carnegie Mellon, we don't really have a landing place. And we're not intending to repurpose the current information desk. We like how that serves the community that exists here at Carnegie Mellon and where that space is situated, connected to Marsha Gerwig's staff. But what we do want is to create a landing place for that first-time visitor who comes out of the garage. John talked about how there's a very contiguous line that you'll walk out of the garage right into what will be what we hope to be a landing place for visitors to campus. And we have talked about digital signage to be able to direct people. If you have information that you need, please come this way. It won't be staffed with people, but we can use technology to help direct people to an admissions tour, for example, and use technology to really invite people into our campus for that first time and help orient them. It's a great question.
Okay. It's really great to see the undergrads here. Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Janica. I'm also an undergrad. I have a few questions. One relates to the dance studios again. I was wondering about the new one that's being built. What's the size of that, maybe relative to this room or the activities room? I'd rather speak square feet.
So you're speaking about the studio theater in comparison to the exercise room?
Yeah. This one section here?
So the studio here is 3,000 square feet. So it's larger than this one.
You can see the room that we're in right now.
Right.
Is actually that room. Like those are the three rooms. You can see the size of that relative to the room you're in right now.
Right, right, wide.
Another question I had relates to transportation. So what's going to happen to the bus stops and also the bike racks?
So the bike racks, the plan would be to replace them. And both, I guess, the bike racks and the repair station, because those get displaced or moved based on the work around the garage. But so that's going to be part of the plan. The first part of your question.
Yeah, and also will the bus stops be affected with the reasons of on?
Right now, there's nothing that we're doing that affects the bus stops. But certainly the design of the edge along Forbes Avenue is something that we're still currently working on. But our work is, as you can see in this slide here, kind of the area directly in front of the University Center. And I believe the buses stop a little bit south of there right now, so we don't think we're going to be affecting that.
A good related question to that, though, that we wanted to highlight here, and it's a good time to talk about now, While we don't anticipate right now working with Port Authority and the city to move the current path bus stop that is just below the campus now, below the site now, we are very cognizant that what is the current utility of the turnaround, when you think about the many yellow buses that we have, absolutely, the many yellow buses that we have for various activities to support student organization, events, etc. The turnaround won't be there any longer for that. And while we will have that drop-off lane that JR and John talked about, we will need to rethink where we do massive pickups and drop-offs. So if you think about what the University of Pittsburgh does, for example, is they take over a lane on Fifth Avenue and regularly use Fifth Avenue to load. We may do that at some point depending on our North of Forbes expansion and that timeline. But when you think about the Norwood turnaround on Norwood Avenue, for example, we do have space there. We have space in the current Norwood lot, and we do have space on Fifth Avenue that we can use for those large needs. So we recognize this will be a matter of shifting current function to other spaces on our campus, and we won't exactly have the same functionality out of the turnaround, but we think this will actually be much safer, it will have a much more beautiful aesthetic, and it will still be able to serve our program needs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You said that the theater is going to be soundproof and padded. They're also going to be padded at the top. I don't know what we got to get the shelf space for. Are there any ideas of what that shelf space is going to be?
The answer to your first part is the acoustic enclosure of the space is all around. It's the floor, it's the walls, it's the ceiling. So we have to think about all the surfaces in that way. And we believe that the space that's going to be above it is going to be a mixture of office space. And so we don't see a lot of concern in terms of sound transmission. We know we can control that. We don't have any mechanical equipment for the top.
So as John said, Andrew, we are mature in our thinking, recognizing there's a crunch for space anybody can talk to on our campus. And thinking of designing this space with the ability to build that shelf space, we can fill it 4 times over, and we're in discussions now about the use of that space. Anybody who paid attention to that drawing of the 3rd floor, I do want to note there is a corridor that connects from the current 3rd floor student organization and student government that right now cuts through the missile space. We're aware of that. Anything that gets engineered out by way of creating corridors and pass-throughs, we will rebuild into the program somewhere, so people don't need to be concerned about that.
Okay. This is being videotaped, which is really great, because there's been so many very good questions here, and I thought the presentations brought out the enthusiasm and the thoughtfulness again. Anybody, Michael, do you have anything to add? Marcia, you've been integral to the process. Okay. Anybody else? Pat?
Please come up and look at the model.
Models here we see, and then we have other sessions for people to attend.
Right, so if you join us later, I said earlier that 4 to 6 tomorrow p.m. in the right room, we will have our designers and the program sponsors there to answer questions, and really it's a workshop session. It's not formal presentation. It's an opportunity for you to drop in and others who weren't able to be here today to come look at the designs, to look at where our thinking is today. But as Ralph said, it is an iterative process, and questions today about signage, for example, and how we talk about Carnegie Mellon in this building. These are really wonderful additional ideas for us to consider, so we hope that will happen in tomorrow's workshop, again, 4 to 6, or on Friday, 12 to 2, in the right room. Great.
Thank you all very much for coming.